Lesson 64, Domain and Additive Property of Inequality. The domain is the numbers that we can use for x. So in this case, when it says graph x greater than 2, and then it gives us this extra part here, is saying that the domain are the real numbers, which means we can use them all. So if we can use any number, we're going to use a solid line. Let's look at it. Remember, we start by graphing our number line, and then we put a 2 in it. And because this is saying greater than 2, we do an open circle and to the right. And this line is what is going to be saying that all of these numbers, all of them, are going to be included. So that would be the graph for that inequality. Now for the second example, remember to always first write the what it can be. So in this case, it says x cannot be greater or equal to 3. So what can it be if it cannot be greater or equal? Well, it can be less than 3, only less. But in this case, it's giving us a restricted domain. It's saying only integers. Now we know that the integers are whole numbers, so we cannot include any decimals or any irrational numbers. So in this case, we're going to use a broken line. So again, we're going to draw our 3 here, and then it says I want all of the integers that are less than 3. So when I do that, the 3, I cannot include it because it says that it cannot be 3. It cannot be greater or it cannot be equal to 3. So I'm going to start with 2, and we're going to put the 2 is included, 1, 0, 1, negative 2, negative 3, and it keeps going. So we'll put an arrow like that, and that would be the broken line. In this next example, we have to graph x greater or equal to negative 1 with domain real numbers. So what we have to do again is put our number line, the number negative 1, and then remember that when we have a greater or equal, this little line tells us to include the negative 1, so we color the circle, and then it goes this way. Now remember, because it's real numbers, we make a solid line. In the next example, it says graph x less than negative 1. So again, we'll put the negative 1 here. And then we look at this, the domain, and it says that is the positive integers. Remember, it's important for you to memorize these symbols. So since it's just less than negative 1, we do not include the negative 1. But then when we look at the domain, it says that they have to be positive integers. And this symbol, less than, is telling me to go this way. But there's no positive here, right? There's no positive. The positives are here. So in this case, there's no solution. And we write the null symbol or the empty set to say that there's no solution. There are no numbers that are less than negative 1 that belong to the positive integers. In the next example, they're telling us to graph the numbers that are greater or equal to negative 5. And we are also looking at only the positive numbers. So let's draw them here. So in this case, even though there's some numbers that are greater or equal to negative 5, like negative 5, negative 4, because of the domain that says that it has to be in positive integers, we're going to start graphing our answer in 1. So we don't even include 0 because 0 is not positive. So that would be our graph. Now notice again that we put a little arrow to indicate that the answer is infinite. It keeps going, starting on 1. In these following examples, notice that we have a number next to the x. So for example, the first one says x plus 2 is less than 0. So what we have to do is solve it just like any other equation. We'll pass the plus 2 to subtract. So 0 minus 2 is negative 2. And the domain stays the same, in this case, real. So we're going to graph our number line. We'll put the negative 2. And because it's only less than negative 2, we do it with an open circle and a solid line going to the left. In the next example, we have to do the same. We have -3 that is subtracting, and we're going to pass it here to add. So we have x is greater or equal to -5 plus 3. -5 plus 3 is -2. And the domain is only integers, so we know we're going to have to use a broken line. And the broken line here, it would include -2 because the equal here, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and it keeps going, so I put my arrow. And that is our answer. Very, very simple. Go do some practice, and I'll see you in the next video.